Brett Okamoto is here, ESPN's intrepid reporter.
Thank you, Megan.
Brett, I have to tell you, and seriously, I truly mean this, anytime you do pieces like that are so involved, like the one you just did on Khabib, it is such an asset to our sport to be able to have that kind of storytelling. Your biggest takeaway, you sit down with Khabib, you have all these other guys, Ali and his teammates and training partners and longtime friends, family members. For you, what was your biggest takeaway from Khabib, the coach now?
That he doesn't want to do it, and you know, you can talk about like the reasons why he wouldn't want to do it. That he's done everything as a competitor in this sport. That he wants to spend time with his family. Those are all very, very true, and those are all right up there with the number one reason why Khabib doesn't want to do this. But number one is that he doesn't want to replace the man he loved most, and that was his father. That was really the biggest thing that I took from it. I mean, you heard from him when he retired from the sport. I can't come here without my father, and I had multiple people from that team tell me that after that happened, Khabib just wanted nothing to do with the sport. I mean, he literally didn't want to coach, didn't want to think about it. It hurt him to walk into a gym because he'd been doing it day in and day out with his father. And so to then have to become his father for that team has been difficult on him, but he was the only one who could do it. He's the only one who could run the practice like Abdulmanap did. He's the only one that carried that same level of respect. So he is being the man that team needs him to be and not who he wants to be. I thought that was pretty powerful.
I mean, it's truly powerful. And Anthony, I mean, you've been through emotional scenarios when you were fighting, but now to not just have that, but to know you're going to encounter it every single day as you try to lead other men to success as well. I mean, that's got to be an unthinkable challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, you know, I find myself a lot being asked about coaching and are you going to start this team when you're done competing, because that's right on the horizon. And I say the same thing that Khabib says. I don't want to do it. I just don't. I'm uninterested in part. I think some of it is it's so hard to do what we do. We're in the trenches. We're suffering for so many years. To have a couple years or a short period of some success where maybe it's a little bit easier, just to retire and then go back to the bottom and have to do it with 5 other people. And then once those people are done, then you go back and you find another one. There's nothing that I want to do less than that.
I love to have this answer, quite frankly. I've heard Khabib say a few times that he didn't like to do it. I thought he was doing it to serve the memory of his father. I did not know that memory is creating the pain for him and is what is actually separating. I mean, that's very interesting. Like, getting on the inside of these guys is really something. To see Khabib on a basic airline in the coach section a week ago was a surprise. And I actually don't say that to be funny. These guys are humble. He's coming out by himself. He'll sit wherever they sit him. He'll sit in the middle seat. He's just trying to get to his friend to be in his corner. He's trying to get to his cousin to offer him an inspiration. They're truly selfless, and there's not a lot of places anywhere in the world that we have actual teams. Most guys can be bought, and they'll put on similar-looking jerseys and laundry. To have an actual team is a rare thing, and these guys are the real thing.
No, absolutely. Just to touch on that, there is no one you want more in the exit row with you than a guy like Khabib. He's going to hold that door until every single passenger gets off the plane. So that was a mistake there. But, Brett, I want to go back to what something he said in there. He's like, I hope I don't do it for much longer. I mean, it seems like he really means that. I don't want to do it much longer. But he's got a lot of talented guys who could be fighting for a decade or more.
Yeah, he's got that core group that has been with him for a very long time. And obviously the big ones that we know are his 2 cousins, Usman and Umar, and then, of course, Islam. He said, and Islam was sitting right there in the room, and as I was interviewing him, he's like, I hope Islam fights for 1.5 more years. And Khabib has always said this, you know, he's like, why are you still fighting? Why are you fighting? You're old. You turn into an old man overnight in this sport. Khabib knows that. And so he likes to see his guys go in, finish the job, and get out. He said that he's going to be there with these guys, particularly these 3. But there are a few others who have been with them for a long time. But he says, when they're done, I am done. And he makes no secret about it. He's like, I hope it's not too much longer. But he does. One thing that he does do is that he leaves it up to them. He says, it is your decision. I will be with you till the end. But if you could wrap it up pretty quickly, I wouldn't.
Wow.
Yeah, he would love it, but also I personally love that approach to the sport. Leave the sport before the sport leaves you. I think it's very smart. They have their money, they have their wits about them, and go off right into the sunset. But Chael, you've done this pivot from fighter to coach. You just cornered Colby Covington. I know that Colby was relying on you a lot in terms of leadership and game plan. I mean, for you, what was the most challenging part of that journey for yourself?
I will tell you, the emotion is very strong. When you're going out there, I mean, there is a real nervousness, and the competitiveness is very much different. I remember getting ready to compete myself, and in the locker room, there's a real tension. Everybody's quiet. Nobody really knows what to say. But I will tell you, as the coach, you do feel it different. Like after I cornered Colby, I had to go and call all my old coaches and thank them because I didn't really realize what they went through for me time and time again. And to know that draw on Khabib is fascinating to me. I find Khabib to be fascinating. He's secretly a very funny guy. He's secretly a very charming guy. He's also got a family, and he would like to be at home, and that's hard to do. It's hard. This is the traveling circus, right? I mean, we're out on the road, one town to the next, and if he wants to slow that down, I love that, Megan, but I will be careful if he gets there, if he actually enjoys it. Slowing down is just as hard as speeding up in this game.
Yeah, absolutely true. But you just mentioned something, traveling circus. They lived in Las Vegas for weeks to train at the UFC Performance Institute. I spied on some of their practices. I mean, they knew it. It wasn't like I was being a weird spy. I should have phrased that differently. But I watched some of their practices with their full disclosure, and they were nuts. I mean, the grappling practice, and then what Khabib runs them through in terms of the conditioning for those last 30 minutes.
And you mean intensity?
Intensity, but also like their break was a 5-minute plank. That was the break. Like, I mean, what was your observation when they knew you were at practice because they were fine with it watching? I mean, what did you take from it?
When you talk about Habib's having a sense of humor, they really all do. And Islam told me a great story. He was like, brother, I trained with you my whole life. Remember that we were grappling for 15 minutes without a break. Like, we were never doing this before you were the coach. Like what? Someone get Khabib under control over here. So he was sharing stories like that. They still spar 15 to 20 rounds a week. These guys spar hard, and then when they get done, and I'm watching them, I'm like, these are like the best fighters in the world. And then they have Khabib yelling at them, telling them everything that they did wrong. I mean, that is the intensity level. That is like, They celebrate their wins, but until they get to those wins, they do not celebrate anything. They are in the gym working hard, staying humble, to Chael's point. It is very, very fun to watch their practice.
Well, there's that fun video of Islam trying to convince Daniel Cormier to help them. Like, you need to help us and get control of him. And Daniel says, oh, that's Javier. He said he won't listen to Javier. Yeah. He's just a madman in there.
Yeah, he's bossing everybody around, but they're cracking up. But he is yelling while they're all doing crunches. Sure. It's kind of amazing to watch. Brett, as always, we thank you for your insight, your talent, and putting these pieces together.
Thank you, man.
We always appreciate when you join us. Yeah, we love it.